Now, when those records come from New York, I'll... Hello, Claire.
Good morning.
Dr. Morton, this is Mrs. Schuster, and this is her daughter, Kim.
How do you do?
Hello, it's nice to meet you.
Hello, Kim.
Kim is deaf, Dr. Morton. Kim? Dr. Morton said hello. I'm afraid she's a little shy. Thank you so much, Dr. Rossi.
None at all. Excuse me.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you.
They all have the same look.
Who?
The children. Special ones.
This is a pleasant surprise.
You owe it to my mother. She needed a car, and I thought maybe you could drive me to the hospital.
No, I'm headed that way myself as soon as I collect myself. I'll just be a minute.
I like your office. It's sturdy. There's no nonsense about it. It's like you.
Thank you.
You seem to be holding up pretty well without a secretary.
You should have seen my act a few minutes ago. If you ever see my effigy burning from the top of the building, take a good look at it. It may be me.
No, not you, Mike. Never you. We all love you too much.
Thank you.
Mike, I also came up here to apologize for the other night. The night the champagne fizzled. I always managed to maneuver you right smack into the middle of my life.
Well, it's better than being on the outside. Come on.
Anybody home?
Good morning, Mr. Schuster.
Good morning, and welcome.
Thank you. I was just...
Rearranging the files. That's a ritual with every new secretary.
Well, I'm not exactly new.
Well, there have been some changes since you were here last.
Yes, I noticed you fixed the water cooler. You know, I think I'm going to miss that free shower with every drink of water.
Can you get me the personnel file on the night watchman? His first name is Gus.
Gus Chernak.
Chernak? He wouldn't be any relation to Anna Chernak, would he?
He's her husband.
Is everybody in Peyton Place related?
Sometimes it seems like that.
I'm beginning to feel like I'm in a room covered with mirrors. Every place I look, I see a familiar face.
Peyton Place does have a way of doubling back on you. I suppose that's why you love it and hate it at the same time.
Mr. Chernak seems to have had a varied career at the mill.
Do you know the Chernaks?
Well, Mrs. Chernak and I are going to have a short but volatile relationship. She's our housekeeper. Write out Mr. Chernak's notice, effective immediately, 2 weeks severance pay. What's the matter?
Nothing.
Well, wait a minute. Do you always frown like that when you have to write out someone's termination notice?
No.
Well, what is it?
Gus Chernak has always been a hard worker. So is his wife. They tried to give their children everything they had never had. Mr. Harrington knew that. So when things got a little too much for Gus, he just moved him down the line a bit.
But he wouldn't fire him.
He wouldn't fire him.
All right, I guess we can carry Mr. Chernak a while longer.
Yes, sir. If Mrs. Chernak's your housekeeper, she might prove less expensive than a food taster.
She might at that. You know, I hired you to uncomplicate my job.
Hello, Rodney.
Hello, Mrs. Anderson.
May I help you?
Yes, I'd like to see Mr. Schuster.
Well, he's on the phone right now. Would you mind waiting?
Not at all.
Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
How have you been, Rod?
Oh, fine, thank you, Mrs. Anderson. And you?
Fine.
How long have you been working for Mr. Schuster?
I just started this morning.
Has the place changed much?
A little. How's your father, Rodney? Have you heard from him?
He's in Europe, Mrs. Anderson.
Yes, I know.
I saw Betty at the inn the other night. She was with Reverend Bedford.
Rodney.
Mrs. Anderson, you don't have to make any ground rules for me.
He's off the phone. Rodney Harrington to see you? Yes, sir. You can go in now.
Sorry to bother you, Mr. Schuster.
No bother at all. What can I do for you?
Well, it's about last night.
Yes, what about last night?
Well, what happened was my fault.
What did happen?
Well, that's just it. Nothing happened. See, we were playing hide and seek. It was a reward for Kim finishing her dinner, and instead of tagging Allison, I tried to kiss her. And then the lights went on. I just didn't want you to blame Allison for something that I did. I think if you hadn't come in when you did, you probably would have clobbered me with one of your golf clubs anyway.
You have anything lined up for this summer?
Nothing definite.
Your father started out as a mill hand, didn't he?
Yes.
You might want to work here this summer.
Well, that's very generous.
Makes sense to me. Think about it, will you?
I certainly will. Thank you. Bye, Mrs. Anderson.
Rodney?
You know Rodney, don't you?
He and my daughter were married. For a short time only.
Well, he might come to work here at the mill. I hope that doesn't pose any problems.
I don't believe it should, Mr. Schuster.
Good.
Harrington?
Rod Harrington, Joe Chernak. I just brought my father over, Gus.
Oh, yeah, Gus Chernak.
Gus Chernak. I understand you roughed up Kitch.
Well, he worked over my brother,
Norman.
Norman.
What's with him and Rita Jacks?
Why the interest?
Well, she used to hang around in our crowd.
Well, it's a little less crowded now.
I used to go with Rita.
Don't tell me your troubles.
I'm not, Rodney. I'm just telling you that Rita's a problem.
Not for Norman.
Hey, Harrington. I'm not Kitch. I don't rough up kids in the pillory. I've gone my own route, you know?
You talk a lot.
Yeah, well, you talk too. Talk to your brother.
Preview from the continuing story of Peyton Place.
Just be careful that we don't outsmart ourselves, Doris.
I'm always careful, David.
I had the pleasure of meeting her at the inn with the good Reverend.
Jerry Bedford?
Yeah, good old Jerry. It's the same old Rita. She always starts out by saying no. You're not going to see her again, understand?
Norman.
Stay away from her, or you'll what, Norman?